Ladies and gentlemen, good day. This is your Zimbabwe update. Today's story is explosive, urgent, and could reshape politics in Harare. A confidential government file circulating online has ignited fury inside the army and sparked a political storm across that country. Stay with us while we unpack the leaked document, the official denials, the reactions from veterans and security chiefs, and what this could mean for Zimbabwe's next elections. A leaked cabinet memorandum, now viral on social media, appears to propose sweeping constitutional changes that would effectively delay the 2028 general election and extend the current presidential term. According to the document being shared online, the plan would allow extensions for the president, parliament, and local councils of up to 3 years, pushing the next contested date out to as late as 2031. What else does the leak say? The memorandum reportedly recommends shifting responsibility for voter registration away from the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission and giving that role to the Registrar of Births and Deaths. It also proposes creating a new delimitation commission to redraw constituencies, changes critics say would centralize power and weaken independent election oversight. The document even suggests repealing or amending protections that stop term limit changes from being applied retroactively. Those are not small tweaks, they would change the rules of the game. The publication of the file produced instant outrage. Opposition figures, civil society groups, and prominent investigative journalists warned that the proposals, if real, would amount to democratic backsliding. One of Zimbabwe's best-known investigative reporters flagged the leak and argued that stripping SEC of its voter registration powers would undermine the credibility of any future vote. Voices in the diaspora and at home began sharing the document and calling for urgent clarification, but the government quickly pushed back. The Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Sayambai, publicly dismissed the circulating document as fake and fabricated. He told reporters that the government follows formal, public procedures for constitutional change and that any real proposals would be gazetted and debated openly, not leaked as an anonymous memo. That denial has not ended the controversy. Behind this paper storm, a different crisis has been brewing inside the security establishment. Over recent months, the president has reshuffled and retired several high-ranking military figures, moves analysts say are designed to shore up loyalty and head off any threat to the presidency. In the same period, military veterans and some serving officers have publicly criticized the government. Some army commanders are said to be deeply unhappy with the idea of changing the rules to prolong political tenure, and the leaked file appears to have crystallized that anger. On the streets and in Harare's political cafes, veterans and protesters have been making their voices heard. Calls for demonstrations were issued, and police moved to deploy in large numbers to prevent gatherings. In at least one recent episode, authorities sealed off key city areas to block planned protests. The state's heavy-handed security posture reflects how seriously the government sees the threat of unrest. Let's slow down and put this in context. Why would a government push for a document like this? Supporters of constitutional adjustments often argue they are meant to ensure stability, align development projects with longer political cycles, or harmonize different election timetables. Critics see a very different motive: a grab for time in office, an attempt to re-engineer rules to benefit incumbents, and a stripping back of independent electoral safeguards. Why are army chiefs so sensitive? Zimbabwe's history makes the military a central political actor. The army's role in the 2017 transition that brought President Mnangagwa to power showed how influential the security services can be. Since then, loyalty within the forces has been a political priority. Any perceived attempt to alter constitutional limits can be seen by some military leaders as political engineering that threatens institutional legitimacy or the military's own standing. Who is speaking out? Independent journalists and opposition activists have been loud. Investigative reporters who exposed the leak warned of the danger to democratic norms. War veterans, a powerful lobbying group inside Zimbabwe, went from being early supporters of Mnangagwa to vocal critics, accusing the leadership of clinging to power. International observers and regional commentators have noted growing cracks inside the ruling party and the security establishment. Some analysts argue these internal divisions now pose the biggest political risk to the president. What does the government say it will do next? The formal line from the Justice Ministry was to reject the leaked file and promise that any legitimate reforms would follow established legal channels: cabinet consideration, parliamentary debate, and gazetting. The minister urged citizens to await an official bill rather than rely on viral documents. But critics replied that the denial did not fully address the specific claims in the memo, and that the timing of the denial, after the leak had already circulated widely, only fueled suspicion. Let's look at the immediate practical implications. If the proposals in the leaked memorandum were implemented, they would require a two-thirds parliamentary majority and, in many cases, a national referendum. That is not impossible, but it would need buy-in from many powerful actors, and it would almost certainly deepen political polarization. Opposition groups and civic organizations say they would challenge any attempt to delay elections or strip electoral agencies of their powers. The security services' reaction, whether they publicly support or quietly oppose such moves, could be decisive. What are the risks for ordinary Zimbabweans? Political instability tends to hit citizens economically and socially. Businesses may close for safety, investors could be spooked, and ordinary people could face tighter security crackdowns. Already in previous episodes of unrest, schools and markets have been affected, and streets of Harare have quieted under heavy police presence. The prospect of prolonged political fights over the constitution could mean months of uncertainty. So what should we watch in the coming days? First, look for an official, gazetted bill from government ministries. If the government intends a constitutional amendment, it must begin a formal process, and that would be public. Second, watch statements from the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Any proposed change to its mandate would be newsworthy. Third, monitor the positions of key military figures and veterans organizations. Their public stance may determine whether this crisis remains rhetorical or becomes a real security confrontation. Fourth, look for regional and international reactions. SADC, the African Union, and donor states often weigh in on constitutional crises, and their statements matter. Expert voices warn of three possible paths. One scenario: the government drops the most controversial elements, calms tensions, and the issue fades. A second: a negotiated, limited reform is presented and contested in Parliament. A third, more dangerous scenario: the disagreement escalates into sustained unrest or a deeper split inside the security services, which could risk violence or an accelerated political crisis. Analysts say the signs of internal division inside the ruling party make the second and third scenarios more plausible today than a year ago. For now, the leaked file has shone a light on simmering tensions between the presidency, the security sector, and civic actors. It has galvanized opposition voices and alarmed many ordinary citizens. Even if the government insists the memo is fabricated, the reaction it has produced is real, and that reaction will shape Zimbabwe's political calendar in the months to come. We will keep following this story closely. Expect updates if a formal bill is tabled in Parliament, if the Electoral Commission issues a statement, or if key military leaders make public comments. For now, the leaked file has done what leaks often do. It forced a national conversation that will be hard to roll back. If you want continuing coverage, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this video with people who care about Zimbabwe's future. We'll be back with more details as events develop. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay informed.